Hey everybody, Tekking here, how you doing? Are you excited? I'm excited. Probably for different reasons though. You're probably excited because I'm about to review the new One Piece chapter and whatever. I mean, that's great and all, we'll get to that in a second. But I'm excited because I just spent all night practicing for my stand-up comedy routine, Obey the Law. It's coming to a city near you this Saturday, but I decided to give you the preview right now. Okay, so let's just get into this. This is about like going to be a 15-minute set, and then we'll get into the review. Okay, here we go. So, you guys hear that story about the giant dragon that put a crown on its head and became a sexy princess? Well, actually, it's funny. No, I practiced all night. I don't have time for this crap. Whew. Okay. Listen, I don't have time to explain. I'm you from the future! Okay, this is not even close to being the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me, so I guess I'll just roll with it. How far from the distant future do you come from? Because you look exactly like me. Do I just never get a new outfit? Because I come from the incredible far-off year of 53 minutes from now. Huh, okay, well that's really kind of lame actually. So what are you doing here, man? No, I can't explain that right now. Rather, you wouldn't be able to understand it with your feeble past mind. You have to go through this chapter and arrive at that conclusion on your own. I'm simply here to give you this. When the chapter is concluded, you must use this time-traveling watch. It's a Samsung smartwatch, but alright, whatever. Time-traveling watch in order to get into the future and come back and give this message to your past self so you'll know. Yeah, okay. Well, thank you for the device that now allows me to mess with the laws of physics as we know it. That's pretty cool. Alright. Now, wait, shit. How am I supposed to get back to the future if I gave you the... Huh. Okay, well, I guess I'm just gonna stick around for a little while then. No, man, I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, there's already, like, a bunch of us running around. I think this is just gonna make it way more confusing to the audience. Nah, I don't think it'll be that confusing. I mean, you got the original Tekking, and then you got you, the classic Tekking, but then you got me, future Tekking. Yeah, I think as long as we just keep it to the three of us, it should be pretty simple. Hey guys, what's up? I just got back from hell! That's lovely. Yeah, you can get going, though. You're not gonna be part of this so much. Alright, then. Okay, so, now what? Are you just gonna, you know... Oh, you just go ahead and do your little, review thing. I'm just gonna sit here and just creepily watch you from a distance, remembering the good old days. Remember it like it was yesterday. You're from less than an hour in the future. Exactly. Alright, whatever. Anyway, hey everybody, Tekking here, and welcome to One Piece Chapter 919 review titled The Ghosts of Odin Castle. Woo! Okay, so, cover page this week, we have the remainder of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet just basically striking their poses, you know, showing off their Jolly Rogers. The only one here that I don't think we've ever seen before is Hyrudine's new Giant Warrior Pirates Jolly Roger, and actually comparing it to the original Giant Warrior Pirates one, it looks pretty much exactly the same. The only difference is that the helmet is a little bit more detailed. You can actually see, like, parts of the helmet coming out of the silhouette, but aside from that, I think we've seen all the other ones. The IDEO Pirates, remember, IDEO didn't even have a pirate crew when he set out from Dressrosa. It was like the Triple X Gym Martial Art Alliance, but he probably realized that sounded too much like a porn company, and he didn't want to, you know, have that reputation, especially when you have the Long Leg Tribe member, Blue Gilly, and then, you know, Abdul and Jeet with them. You know, that was probably just way confusing for a lot of people whenever they arrived in the town. So, you know, it was like, we're the Triple X Gym Martial Arts Alliance crew! And everyone in the town would be like, okay, so are you shooting a porn? Should we go inside while you do that? Or when are you leaving? But yeah, we see their Jolly Roger, we see Leo's, and we see Orlumbus's, the Yon Tamara fleet, and that's pretty much it. So I'm guessing this is it. This is the end of the you know, Straw Hat Grand Fleet finale. It's the second half. It covers all of the remaining ones. I mean, maybe if Oda wants to throw in one more thing with Bellamy, like that would be actually a really cool thing. Like the finale, part 3. Where we see Bellamy on that island, and behind him is fluttering all the different flags of all the different Grand Fleet members, and then like a giant, you know, straw hat flag above all of them that would be cool. Maybe we'll do one more thing with that. But if not, then this is the obvious, like, end point for this, and we can... Well, we're probably going to not start with another cover page right away, because Oda likes to have, like, a little buffer zone where they'll have, like, little sketches of, like, the Straw Hats screwing around with, like, animals or something. Like, draw Brooke singing a song to a sleepy hippo, and be like, okay, I'll do that, I'm Oda. Alright, so the chapter starts off with Otama saying goodbye to the group. Speed is actually going to take her back to Amagasa Village. Speed is just now an ally, and I understand why we're doing this. I mean, Otama, I think a lot of people figured she was going to be a central figure of this arc, and I still think she is. We're going to have a few moments with her. I mean, Wano is just vamping up, guys. We're only 10 chapters into Wano. Oh my god, even 10 chapters, it feels like time flies, but this is going to be an extremely long arc. If it's not going to be as long as the longest one, which is Dressrosa, at 100 chapters, it's going to be right around that number. I wouldn't be surprised if it's even longer than that. But yeah, Otama's definitely going to come back at some point, but you have to remember, she's like, you know, 8 years old, and it's been kind of a busy day. You know, she got kidnapped, like, what, like 4 times, and she was chased around by all these people. They burst into town. She was poisoned. She was rescued from a lion person. The lion person got punched out. Another of the headliners is now their ally. They took out a sumo ring. They lit an entire city on fire. It's been a very busy morning. And they, of course, ended it out, though, by saving all of the members of Leftover Town by providing them with the treasure ship. So, yeah, they put Otama right on Speed's back, and Speed is an ally now, and, you know, Luffy's like, take good care of Otama, Speed, and Speed is just like, I don't take orders from you, just my lovely master. So, the way that this is working with Speed, I mean, she's not like she's brainwashed. It's not like she's a mindless slave now, like, I will do whatever Otama commands of me. What is your desire, my master? No, she still acts, she has her same personality she always did. It's just like someone flipped a switch in her head, and now she just views Otama with unceasing loyalty, even more so than Kaido, probably, or Jack. It's just like an animal kind of instinct thing. It's probably the same thing like your dog or your cat has like a love for you as their owner, as their master, you know? So it's kind of like that, where it's just like she has unceasing affection toward Otama and will do whatever she commands. So that's the power of the Dongo. And also, last time I said that maybe Hold'em wanted her power to like have like a bunch of obedient servants, but then you start thinking like, no, probably the reason Hold'em wanted the Dongo ability was so that it could not be used against them for this reason. Maybe Hold'em figured this out. He's like, whoa, you mean to tell me she has an ability to let animals obey her? That's not good, because the smiles are created from like animal spirits or animal essences or whatever. I think there was something mentioned with like the lineage factor involving that. Really not sure what that's all about quite yet, but maybe Hold'em could see the writing on the wall, and he's like, oh, that it might not be a guarantee that she would be able to manipulate all the smile users, but it's possible, and if that possibility even exists, even a 1% chance, I need to get my hands on that girl. So, I'm a little bit skittish about this, just sending Otama off her on her own. Well, not on her own because she has speed, but what I'm saying here is if Kaido and Jack or the other Calamities want Otama's ability, and they decide just to storm Amagasa Village, I mean, you got Otama and Tengu and Speed. I don't think they'll be able to, maybe the Baboon as well, maybe the Baboon is also going to go back with her, but if that's all you got, if they launch an all-out offensive to get Otama's ability, I don't think that like Speed and the Tengu and the Baboon are really going to do anything about that if Jack decides to start knocking down the village gates and be like, you know, I want her, you're coming with me. So that's the situation there. And Jack is ruthless. Jack is absolutely ruthless. So if he bursts in and Speed's there and like, don't hurt him, Jack. She's my master. Jack would turn into a mammoth and just step on that horse, like, immediately. He would not care. He's like, you're a traitor. Give her to me. That's what would happen. So, we'll see what happens there, but for right now, I think it's best Otama heads back home, maybe gets a little nap and a juice box, because, you know, she's 8. But, anyway, she also has an apple that she's going to give to her grandfather, you know, Tengu, just an apple. I'm like, you have this entire treasure ship, I'll just bring him back one single apple, he'll be happy with that. And so at the same time this is going on, Luffy takes out the Nidai Kitetsu, and he's like, hey, by the way, Otama, could you let that Tengu guy know that I'm going to borrow this sword for a little bit while longer? And Zoro's in the background like, dude, you haven't even used it properly yet. You're just taking it out of its sheath. Because Luffy's rebuttal to this is like, I need to have a sword, otherwise I can't be a samurai. I'm in Wano country. I need to have this. You know, it just happened to be one of the most legendary swords in the entire world. Like, Luffy could have just picked up a random katana. Like let's say Tengu didn't have the Nidai, or he hid it, and so Luffy wouldn't have found it. Luffy would have probably just picked up a random unnamed sword off of some random, you know, fodder soldier after he defeated Hawkins, and that's the sword he would be using. It's all the same to Luffy, but he just happened to pick the Nidai freaking Katetsu. So Zoro's like, dude, you haven't even used it properly. By the way, can I see that thing? Seriously? Like, Zoro's not really pushing it too much. He's not, like, grabbing Luffy and, like, Luffy, come on, really, you need to give me that sword. I need to look at it. Come on, it's my thing. I need to see it. He's just kind of, like, very passively, aggressively, like, come on, Luffy, let me see it, man. Are you gonna let me see that sword or not? And Luffy just, I guess, doesn't hear him or just doesn't care. He's like, no, it's my sword. You have 3! Why do you need 4? It's like, that's not why I wanted to see it. It's seriously, there's like some weird dark aura coming off that thing. I can imagine Zoro can like physically like see the curse. Like with the Sandai Katetsu, there's like this like skull that just emanates from his blade and he could just tell. You know, like when he was trapped in the chimney in Water 7 and Chopper saved him, Chopper had the Katetsu on his back and Zoro just knew it was there. So Zoro just has an affinity for this. So I'm imagining he's looking at this sword, Luffy's waving around like a madman, and this giant like super skull is just coming out like a Megadeth album cover, like, whoa! Like, Luffy, let me see that damn thing! Really? You're gonna kill someone if you keep using that! You know, but anyway, so yeah, that's the situation there. Otama's heading back with speed, and they just head off into the wasteland. Okay, so meanwhile, the leftover town citizens, they're all happy and giddy, and they're throwing the food up in the air, and they're like, thank you, Luffy Taro! Thank you, Zoro-Jiro, and thank you, Law. What's Law's Wano name? Did we get to see Law's Wano name yet? I don't think we have, but, you know, Law Inosuke, I don't know, but Trafanosuke. But, okay, so they're all really happy. They're like, oh my god, my grandfather's in the spitting image of health. You know, my children are finally happy. You know, once again, I mean, like, if they were starving for weeks, you know, just one single meal that they just stuffed their face with, most of them would probably be on the ground in shock right now, or, you know, just projectile vomiting all over the place, because it's like, I haven't eaten in 2 weeks. Fried fish! Oh, nom, nom, nom! Oh, man, that's delicious. I'm all good now. That's how you cure starvation. Well, let's get back to it. Yeah, so anyway, they decided, like, all right, everybody hop on the Koma Inu, let's go to Odin Castle. You know, you're welcome, everybody! We're gonna leave this town now completely unguarded. Yeah, that's not a good thing. Because seriously, the Bakura district is not that far from Leftover Town. The main gates of the place are within spitting distance of Leftover Town, for God's sake. What's to stop? We already know Jack is aware of this. We already know Jack is coming. So it's just like, yeah, guys, sorry, but we gotta go. I mean, I don't think they told the citizens of the town, because that would just be like, you know, oh, by the way, Calamity might be coming in the next few hours to just wreck this place, but bye! So, I don't see anything stopping them. I mean, who else is in the town to protect it? You got, you know, the Koma Inu, that's going with them. Oh, by the way, the Koma Inu, it was mentioned that Tama didn't actually do the Dongo trick with the Koma Inu. The Koma Inu is just basically like a loyal dog, and will just, you know, listen to whatever Otama's orders were, you know, just by default without even really having the Dongo trick. So, I mean, you know, all the people in town look like little kids and elderly people and women. They don't look like a lot of fighters here. Even Okiku. Okiku is going with them to Odin Castle as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if they go up to Odin Castle and they have that exposition, we find out what's going on there, and it's like, alright, here's the plan of attack, here's what we're going to do to take down Kaido, and then they head back to Leftover Town the next day, and the whole thing is just pounded flat by Jack. Would not be surprised in that by the slightest, okay? But anyway, they're heading off to Odin Castle. Okiku is like, she's very kind of like, you know, like, nervous about this. She's like, oh, okay, yeah, well, I'll go to Odin Castle with you guys. I've always wanted to see it. But in her mind, she's thinking, like, why would they want to go to Odin Castle? Why would they have anything to do with Odin Castle? They're foreigners. They're not even from this country. And so she's kind of thinking to herself, like, you know, they saved Otama and everything, and they were really nice, but I really have no idea who these people are. I just met them today. and we saved Otama, but, you know, I don't really know what their intentions are, so I should really, you know, I'm not sure about this. I should keep my eye on them, basically. Zoro kind of picks up on this. Zoro is just like, yeah, she's hiding something. I don't think it's going to turn out like Kiku's a bad guy or anything. I think it's just going to be like, you know, she's dubious as what their intention are, because there are a bunch of, you know, Wano has always been an isolated country, and now all of a sudden a bunch of foreigners are coming in, and they're doing all this weird stuff, and they're nice. I mean, they saved a little girl, but you really don't know what their intentions are, so Kiku's just a little skittish about this, like, oh, I'm not sure about this. So anyway, we now cut to the flower capital of Wano, where we get to see a few little scenes going on here. The first one is we cut to the inside of a schoolhouse. Alright, so this is actually something that reminds me a lot of the episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Remember when the gang was infiltrating the Fire Nation? One of the first episodes where they're in the Fire Nation is Aang goes to that school, where he gets to see exactly firsthand how the Fire Nation children are raised with this level of propaganda, and how, like, they were lying to them about how, like, the Air Nation was like, it's like, what year did Sozin defeat the Air Nation armies? And Aang is like, Air Nation, they were nomads, dude. They didn't have an army, you know, you just made that up there. So yeah, there's a lot of propaganda being spread around, and it's the same exact thing here in Wano. So the first question the teacher asked, by the way, this teacher, pretty hot teacher. Just had to throw that out there. So the first thing that the teacher asks, though, is like, what is the definition of isolationism? And to this, the students kind of give a fairly textbook kind of definition. They're like, you know, it's when a country closes their borders off, you know, no trade, no commerce, and just, you know, protects their borders at all costs to preserve the peace. And yeah, I think that's a fairly accurate definition of isolationism. That's a word I can't pronounce. It's tequila and isolationism. Okay, awesome, great. So the next question, though, she asks is, what is it called, you know, what is it to when a country is open? Like, what would happen if Wano were to open its borders? And she calls on a girl, and the girl responds with, oh, I know what would happen. The entire country would be ruined by people invading it. They would take all of our treasure, and they would introduce evil, and they would just pervert the entire land. So that's the basic idea of, you know, the level of schooling that we're working with here. Like, oh, okay, you know, so these children are raised with just the sense of, like, just dogmatic tradition. Wano was isolated, and it has to be isolated. The rest of the world is an evil place. We are like the last bastion of goodness in this entire world. If we let our borders down and if we let them invade us, then we will be perverted the same way that the rest of the world did, and we will lose our sense of identity. Hey, look, Japan was an isolated nation for a very, very long time. Now, in the situation with Wano, I think it's dialed up a little bit, you know, obviously, because even I think in the period of isolationism with Japan, they still allowed certain trade with, like the Dutch Trading Company and everything. I think there was still a few ports open to foreigners in feudal Japan, but not very many, especially I think during the Edo period that lightened up a little bit. But yeah, this is a serious thing. Now, of course, this is not the factual thing. Like this girl does not know, like, they're not being taught about, like, the importance of commerce or trade with other nations. They're not taught that if they just stay the way they are, isolated, and that means their country is going to be stagnated. It's not going to really evolve or change the same way as the rest of the world does, you know. There's other aspects to this other than just, we can't let people in and change the way this whole country has always been, you know. There's other aspects to this. Of course, the way that they're taught, it's like the second that they lower the borders, you know, like Genghis Khan is going to appear and, like, set fire to the entire island. Like, that's what they're taught. Like, there is an army waiting at the gates, just waiting for us to drop the border. Do you want to drop the border? No, teacher, I don't. Do you want to drop the border? No, I don't want to drop the border. It's an isolated nation. It's a great country. I love it here. The flowers are pretty. Damn straight. By the way, the teacher is a yokai. Yeah, you know, like in Orochimaru in Naruto had the creepy snake thing in the tongue? Yeah, it's the same thing with her, except she's rather attractive and reminds me of Boa Sandersonia a little bit with the hair, just like not a bobblehead. So yeah, I'll put her on the best girl list. I'll put her on the waiting list for the best girl list. You know, Wano teacher. Okay, so then she goes on to say, you know, like, well, you know, a few years ago, 20 years ago, there were a bunch of people that tried to open the borders, and she doesn't ask the class who they were. She doesn't ask it as a question. She just mentions it offhand. But nevertheless, the students all, like, strike really, like, disgusted faces, and they're like, Odin and the 9 Scabbards. Oh, God, they're the ones that tried to ruin this country. Thumbs down. We hate hate them. The teacher gets a little bit agitated by this. She goes all yokai snake creepy, where she's like, I didn't ask it as a question. I didn't want to hear their names. Oh, well, I guess. The kids aren't really even fazed by this. The kids are just like, oh, well, there it is. This is a daily occurrence. I can imagine whenever a kid falls asleep in class or something, she uses the snake creepy powers and like, wake up or I'll devour you. Like, okay, teacher, I'm sorry. So then she says, however, Odin and the 9 Scabbards, it wasn't a big deal because they were all defeated by the lovely, amazing, majestic man that we all know as Kurozumi Orochi. And all the kids in class just jump straight up, and one of them picks up a pair of rulers and he's like, 2-sword style Kurozumi. So maybe it's implied that Orochi, the shogun, uses a 2-sword style in his fighting stance. That's, you know, I mean, we've already got 1-sword style, 2-sword style, 3-sword style. Kaku used 4, Hachi used 8, you know, Zoro with Ashura has 9, so it's like, whatever, like, seriously, you could say the Kurozumi Orochi has 20 sword style, and I'd be like, okay, 20 sword style. Use 20 sword style. That's fine. I'm okay with that, man. You know, so, yeah, they all get really pumped by that. You could tell that the kids are always like, you know, like, oh yeah, Kurozumi Orochi, he's probably like their version of Superman, you know, he's the shogun, he's the one that rules the nation, he's got everything locked down, he is such a majestic man. We all want to grow up to be like him, or no, we can't even be like him. We all want to grow up just to serve him, a chance to serve him, you know, so that's the situation there. So now we cut to, I guess, I don't know the best way for me to describe this. Tea house, diner, dance hall, I guess would be an appropriate term. We get a guy named Inamuri Kyoshiro, and he is the Kurozumi family purveyor, or he's a money exchange service individual. We don't actually know this guy. I don't think we've even really seen the Kurozumi clan that much. Oh, well, the Kurozumi, that's the clan that Orochi belongs to. I'm just saying we haven't really seen anybody in that clan yet, except for this guy. So he's not even a member of the clan. He's just like a money exchanging service. So he's a lackey of Orochi. That's what I'm getting across here, okay? So he's got a really, you know, freaky kind of face, very elongated face, interesting hairstyle, and he's in this public place, still in the flower capital, and he's just like, man, Orochi is a coward, and he's throwing his sake cup down, and there's a guy that's with him, and he's like his manservant or whatever, and he's like, oh, Kyoshiro, you have to quiet down, you don't want anyone to hear you, you know, you can't be going around saying Kurozumi Orochi is a coward, what's wrong with you? And so he goes on to tell basically a ghost story kind of deal. He mentions that Odin's wife, before the entire family was wiped out, and we find out what happened here. We find out that 20 years ago, all of the samurai, all of the retainers, including Odin as well, were thrust inside of the Odin Castle, and it was burned to the ground. And so that spelled the end of Odin and the 9 Scabbards. We don't know who all the 9 Scabbards are. Kanemon, Raizo, Kanjuro, you can assume those would be members of it. You know, who knows? Maybe that Shutenmaru guy was one of them. You know, because he was name dropped. Okiku might have honestly been one of them. We're going to get to that in a second. Momonosuke himself was too young, and so I don't think that's the case, but maybe Odin's wife was even one of them. I don't know. It was just Odin and the 9 Scabbards, or the 9 red Scabbards. So yeah, and I think if I'm remembering correctly, Kanjuro and Kanemon might have red scabbards for their swords. I think Kanemon does, because he's Foxfire Kanemon. I might be wrong about Kanjuro, because Kanjuro's blade, I don't even know if it has a scabbard now that I'm thinking about it, because it's like a paintbrush. It's not really a sword, so I don't know how that works there. But anyway, he goes on and tells this story about when Odin's wife, you know, before this all happened, the night of this, she was like, you know, the moon is nothing to the light of the dawn, and the dawn will rise on the world someday. And this is something that's been mentioned by the minks on Zou, by Pedro. Pedro formed the Nox Pirates, or the Night Pirates, and they're like, you know, we are the night before the dawn. Kind of thing. So the dawn is something that's been referenced as very important here, and we finally find out really the significance of that in this chapter. We really figure out what the dawn means, and it is in fact here. So yeah, but Odin's wife basically laid out a curse, or like an omen sort of, to the Kurozumian you know, clan. She was like, in 20 years, that dawn will arise, or in 20 years, you know, we will return, and we will, you know, take back Wano. And so this guy, Kyoshiro, he's going on and on about this as like a ghost story, though. He's like, this is the 20th year. and Kurozumi Orochi, he seems kind of, you know, he seems kind of scared about this. He's not really doing anything. This is the year they come back. Ooh! And so the other guy is just kind of like, whoa, really? And he's like laughing on the ground. He's like, well, whatever, it's just a story, but who knows what'll happen. So we pan out and we find out that the place that they were in, the establishment, the dance hall, a geisha is there performing, and the geisha is in fact Robbie! So yeah, Robin is in fact back in the series, and she's doing what I figured she was going to be doing, performing her geisha dance amidst all the people here, and so she can gather intel on the Kurozumi clan, and so maybe she can even eventually get a private dance audience with Orochi. You know what? I don't want to go too kind of like sexy with this, but I'm just gonna throw it straight out at you. Okay, Robin is someone that has been running from the government ever since she was a little kid. Okay, like only recently was she finally able to throw off those shackles. But when she was a teenager and when she was in her 20s, that's how she had to live. She had to run from island to island and just, you know, getting involved with all these different organizations and stuff. I'm just gonna probably throw this out there. She probably had to have sex with people in order to, you know, have a, you know, safe spot to lay low for a while. You know, it's like, oh, you want to join my crew, dear? Well, you look very, you know, like, I don't want to go too into it, but I mean, if you just think about it for 5 seconds, probably at some point, you know, and her whole thing is like assassination and shit. So that's what you know, it's like, oh, okay, sure, I'll have sex with you, and then you slip some poison into his drink the next morning. Okay, so that's how that works. So I mean, hey, if it comes down to it, if we're gonna have a scene where, you know, Robin gets a private audience with Orochi, and I'm imagining Orochi's laying in like a bed, and there's like a veil, you know, so you can't actually see his face, but he could see them, and all the geishas come out and begin to dance for him, and he has to like pick one to be his, you know, nightly visitor, and you know, he's like, oh, I want that one, and then I don't know where it would go from there, but that's possible. This might be where it's going, you know. It's a shonen after all. Oda has to be careful. He can't show it. He couldn't even really, like, even during Dressrosa there was that scene with Viola and Doflamingo, and it's heavily implied that they had sex. Oda couldn't even come out in SBS and say that they had sex. I guess the editors just wouldn't let him. He had to say, oh, I can't say it, but just to let you know, guys, Dressrosa is a passionate country. So that's like the best way, the best PG-13 way he could say it. I don't know. Yeah, those two boned. So, yeah. Okay. So now, after that ghost story of what we found out with Odin's wife and the 20-year curse or whatever and the dawn of the new world, now we cut over to the Odin Castle proper, and as you can imagine, it is just a burnt-out ruin. The base of the castle is still stone. That seems like sort of like in good condition, but the top of the castle is just completely destroyed. It's just wrecked, and, you know, Luffy's looking around like, oh, there's no castle here. It looks like crap, and Law's like, yeah, 20 years of being a ruin will kind of do it to you. That's what it is. And at the same time, though, this is funny. They're riding on the Koma Inu, and Luffy turns around and is just like, so nonchalantly, he's just like, oh, I guess Zoro must have fallen off. Zoro must have gotten lost while riding on the Koma Inu. Alright, whatever. He just says like he's expected it. It's just like, they're riding on the Koma Inu. Like, literally, Zoro is not even walking. He's not even moving. He's just sitting down on a transport, and he somehow got lost from that. That's great. That reminds me of the scene during Eni's lobby when he gets lost going up a straight stairwell, but this caps that. This just completely destroys that. That's like if you and Zoro get on a bus, and it's like, alright, the bus is literally point A, point B, and like it's like 2 miles. Just you get on the bus here, straight line, and you get off here. At some point, you're riding on the bus, and Zoro's in the seat next to you. You look out the window, it's like, oh, that's cool. You turn around, and he's just gone. Just like, what the... And he's not on the bus. It's like, oh, well, I guess he must have gotten lost. It's like, how? How do you do it? Okay, anyway, it's not a big deal. The Zoro will eventually pop back in at some point. So they arrive at the castle. Luffy looks at the graveyard we saw last week. We saw the graves of Odin and Kinemon and Kandra and Momonosuke and Odin's wife. They're all there. And he's looking at it and he's like, holy crap, are they dead? Are they dead? Are they ghosts? And he's like shouting to Law, and Law's just like, dude, I can't tell you everything right now. It's complicated than that. He's like, no more secrets. You tell me right now. And Law's just like, I can't. It's too difficult. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Are we seriously been palling around with ghosts for like the last, you know, since Punk Hazard? And Law goes on to say, he's like, Kinemon will come out at night, perhaps. the same time he's come out the last few nights. So it's like, oh, okay, I guess he is a ghost. And then we get just one panel of like this emaciated form of Kinemon, like, and it's like, holy crap, he's a zombie! But then we cut over and we find out that no, Kinemon just walks out of the ruins of the castle and he's clutching his stomach and he's like, oh, diarrhea! Oh, God. Oh, hey, Luffy, how you guys doing? I thought I was gonna be on the toilet all day, but I managed to... Okay, well, I'm gonna have to make this quick. Yeah, how you been? So, as you can imagine, because the food is all poisoned, I just realized, really, the food's poisoned, but where else are they gonna get food? So they probably would have no choice but to eat it. I mean, keep in mind, they're also living, you know, underground right now. They can't let anybody know that they're around, that they're here, so they probably just had to live off the poisoned food in the woods. And so, as soon as Kinemon walks outside the castle, though, he is immediately tackled by Okiku. And he's like, oh, Keen-sama, I missed you so much! Oh my god! And they obviously go off on like a banter. It's like, oh, Kiku, what are you doing here? And it's very clear that the two are acquainted with each other. They know each other. Luffy and Law confirm as much. Okiku actually starts blushing when she sees Kinemon, so they might have actually been lovers at some point. Yeah, I don't know where this is going, but they're clearly acquainted. Childhood friends? I don't know. But, yeah, so Kinemon introduces him like Luffy and Law proper. He's like, oh, these guys are our allies in this fight. You know, they will try to help us take out Kurozumi Orochi. So that kind of quells all the suspicions that Okiku has at that point. Like, oh no, these guys are our allies. I met them at sea. They will help us. Momonosuke is also here. Last time we heard from him, he was on Zou trying to commune with Zunisha, so I'm assuming Inuarashi is also somewhere around because Inuarashi stayed on Zou with him. How else would he have gotten to the island, really, without Inurashi's assistance? So Inuarashi and probably a few other minks from the forest. Wanda might be here. Wanda might have left as well, because when Nekomamushi went to Whitebeard's island to find Marco, he took like Blackback and Rhodey and all the, you know, the forest guardians, so it's very likely Inuarashi took the musketeers with him. So we'll maybe see Sicilian again, and wait, was Sicilian a guardian or a musketeer? I forget, whichever, but Wanda was definitely a musketeer. So we're probably going to see her again as well, like they're on the, they're in the castle as well, as they might be out scouting somewhere. We don't get to see Kanjuro or Raizo in this chapter. They're out doing other stuff. But Kinemon kind of lays down the hot pillow talk on us here. So yeah, Momonosuke's here as well. I want to see exactly what he learned on Zou. Like, did he learn something from talking with Zunisha? Because that's going to be really relevant here. And then we finally get the big reveal. It turns out that the other Straw Hats, Nami, Chopper, Brooke, Sanji, and Carrot as well, because she might as well be a Straw Hat at this point. Come on, come on. Hands up, high five, high five. Okay, they're all there as well, and so they're like, oh, Luffy! Where have you been? Glado, where have you been? Where have you guys been this entire time? By the way, I don't know if I never noticed it before, but Carrot has, you know, paw pads on her palms because she's a rabbit mink, so she's got paw pads on her palm and her fingertips. I mean, I just never noticed that before. Maybe it's because she's always wearing those gauntlets. I never noticed, but looking at that, I'm like, is she holding like a pocket watch or something? What is that? Like, oh no, those are paw pads. I'm like, okay, she's a bunny mink. I guess that makes sense. I guess this is the first time we're actually seeing her bare hands like face, you know, this way. Anyway, that's not a big deal, but they're there. Nami's riding on top of Chopper. We got Brooke. You know, Sanji's not wearing a shirt, so kind of sort of like with my Tarzan theory, not really. He kind of slaps Luffy in the face. He's just like, Luffy, do you understand how worried we were? We were looking all the way to the seafloor for you. But the good news is they found the Vivre card, and they eventually, through happen chance, managed to finally get through to Kinemon. The reason Kinemon would not pick up the Den Den Mushi before is because he had severe diarrhea at the time. So now I'm picturing this scene. I want you to have this in your mind's eye, alright? Kinemon, he's got the Den Den Mushi, and he's on the toilet, and it's not even a good toilet. It's like a toilet. It's like basically just a hole in the ground, okay? It's a bombed out castle, alright? So he's sitting on the privy, and he's like, oh god, oh god, better, oh no, oh not now, okay, better, Kinemon, where are you? Oh my god, there's waves everywhere, how do we get into this country? Holy shit, there's an octopus, click, sorry guys, I have faith in, oh god, I have faith that you'll get through this, we'll meet someday. And maybe he was just too embarrassed. He didn't want to be like, hey, Luffy, how you doing? And then just flatulent sounds in the background the entire time. All right, so everything's good, though. I mean, there was some problems along the way. They kind of torched an entire town, and now a calamity is coming after them. You know, typical Luffy stuff. He managed to get his hands on a cursed blade, but now everybody's gathered together. Law and the Straw Hat Pirates. I mean, we still are absent. We're still missing Usopp and Frankie and Robin and now Zoro, so they're not... Like, it's like Oda is intentionally trying to resist, like, a full-fledged reunion between all of them. You know, it's just like, oh, not quite yet. Although I'm sure Sanji is very happy that Zoro's not with them. Sanji'd be like, oh, what happened to Zoro? I thought he was with you. Oh, whatever. I guess he got lost. Okay, fine. Whatever. Oh, and when Momonosuke sees Nami, he immediately jumps into her cleavage again, so... That'll be a fun scene when that gets animated. But anyway, after everyone is gathered together, they're like, okay, we're all gonna go inside and talk, and I'm gonna tell you straight from, you know, what happened with everything and with Odin, and this is the story. This is the exposition dump that we've been waiting for so long. Oh, by the way, they also brought some food from the town, so they actually have good food to eat now. They won't have to worry about diarrhea tonight. So they all go into the little ramshackled little section of the castle, and this is actually the same place that they were meeting in when we first arrived at Wano. This is where Robin and Frankie all were gathered. It's the same room. And so, you know, Kinemon sits down, Okiku's next to him, Momonosuke's next to him, and he's like, all right, here's the deal, guys. I don't know if you'll be able to believe us, but, we're time travelers. Jennifer, I don't know how to tell you this, but, we're in a time machine. They have traveled from the Wano country of 20 years ago through the portal of time and have now arrived in the present day. All 5 of them. Kinemon, Kanjuro, Momonosuke, Raizo, and Okiku. Okiku is included because they're sitting right next to him. Is like all 3 of us, Kiku included, plus Raizo and Kanjuro, who are not here right now, we're sent through time. And that's the end of the chapter. Like, I'm like, okay, is that the end? Like, I don't think you could, you know, top that, Oda, at this point. Like, anything else, like, all right, we're starting the exposition dump, but we're gonna have to hold it off until next week because we're starting it off with, we're time travelers. I'm like, okay, we need, like, at least a week to try to properly grasp that. I'm like, all right. So first off, bravissimo, Oda. Bravissimo. That was not something I considered. You know, I was thinking maybe, oh, they faked their death and, you know, that those are body doubles or something and they were buried there, but in actuality they managed to leave the country and get back and hide. Or if you really want to, I wasn't for the ghost theory, but like, all right, ghost theory, it's One Piece, you know? Like, we already know zombies are a thing and Perona had the ghosts. I'm like, sure, they're all ghosts, fine. I did not think Oda was gonna go all Doctor Who up in this, you know, like, yeah, not something I assumed. So I have to thank him for that. Now, look, it's very likely here, the way I'm viewing this is considering Odin's wife was the one that gave this prophecy of, like, in 20 years the dawn will arise, which, by the way, that's the meaning of the dawn, and, oh, it's night at the moment, the country is falling, but I will send these great 5 warriors into the future, and then in 20 years the dawn of a new era will arise, and they will take back Wano. So that's I guess the general concept here. It was Odin's wife was the one that did this. Now, how would this be accomplished? The only possible way that I can think this would work, the only way in One Piece that you could really think that this would work, is through some sort of time-based devil fruit. Because other than that, you either would have to introduce some sort of time machine, like if you're going to go all H.G. Wells with it, and Wano doesn't really seem to be that technologically advanced. Like, look, if you want to come to me and say, Vegapunk invented a time machine, it'd be like, okay, I can kind of buy that. 500 years above his current time and everything like that. I could buy that. Vegapunk inventing a time machine. So unless you're going to involve Vegapunk in some way, which I don't think they will, that's the only way I would buy, like, an actual, like, we invented a TARDIS. We stepped in and walked through, and here we are. The doctor came and picked us up. I'm like, okay. So that, I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's, let's just throw that out there right now. Throw that whole concept out there right now. Now, another possibility, other than a devil fruit, the ancient weapons. That might be a thing. It could be Uranus. In fact, it would probably have to be Uranus. Pluton has always been stated to be just a massive battleship that can wipe out an island. Pretty devastating. They're not all the same kind of weapon, though, because Pluton is a physical battleship. Poseidon is not a weapon per se. It's a person. It's Shirahoshi, who has just the ability to control Sea Kings that could be used as a weapon. So, if we're going along with that same vein, where it's like Pluton is just a direct battleship weapon, and Shirahoshi is just like, oh, the ability to control the animal kingdom, it's not a too far stretch to assume that Uranus might have, like, oh, it's a great weapon that can destroy the world, but not in the way you're thinking of. It has the ability to destroy the world because it can go back and you can change events in time, or you could send things forward in time. That's how it would mess with the world, not the way you're thinking. So, yeah, if you're going to include some sort of mechanism or machine that's going to involve time travel, it would have to be either invented by Vegapunk, or it would have to be some kind of ancient weapon. The only other thing I can figure right here for this, and it would have to involve creating a whole new set of rules for a whole new set of magic or something. Like, Oda would have to be like, there's a set of magic in Wano. It's like a bunch of books that we've been researching for years, and in those books we now have mastered the art of time travel. Like, Oda would have to invent a whole new concept, a whole new aspect of magic or ability or something in order to make this work. But if we're just going to scratch all of those ideas, if we're just going to keep it simple, Odin's wife ate the time fruit. But, it doesn't work like a free-range time machine. It doesn't work in the way of just like, I can, turn back the clock whenever I want. Like, I have the freaking, Doctor Strange's time stone or whatever. Or I have complete control over all time itself, Because you figure, if she had a power like that, then Wano would have never fallen. Oh, like, as soon as, oh no, Odin's castle is being burned. Hold on a second, time fruit. Go back like 2 days. Like, alright, now we know what to do. So it might actually be a fruit with a similar, it might be called the time fruit, but the ability might be similar to the way the return fruit worked in the movie, in film Z. Remember that, where that girl that was working for Z, I forget her name, but she had the ability to turn back the time for living organisms by 12 years. I think for also inanimate objects as well. So she used it on Chopper, and Chopper went back to being like 3 years old, or 5 years old. Nami went back to being like 8, so she can reverse time in 12-year intervals every time she touches somebody. So that might be kind of a similar thing with the time fruit if we're going that route with it. Like, she doesn't have the ability to go back in time. Like, the past can never be altered. You can never change the past. But the time fruit allows you to send things into the future, where my evil is law. See what I did there? See what I did there? I did a Samurai Jack reference that circled back to the fact I'm law techie. My evil is law. Okay. But yeah, that would make more sense because, look, I'm not against giving a character the ability to manipulate time in a manga, but you got to be careful when you do that. There is a right way to do this and a wrong way to do this. The wrong way to do this is don't just give your character the ability to, like, I could go to the past, I could go to the future, I could reverse things, I could do anything I want. I'm the master of time. I'm like, okay, well, that's a hideously broken ability, and if the character is end up going to be like a villain or something, you're going to have to defeat them at some point. How are you going to defeat someone that can control time? Like a completely controlled time, unless there was a really huge weakness in there that wasn't mentioned until the 11th hour or something. You know, like something like that. So if you're going to give your character that kind of ability, that's fine, but you got to do it a certain way. Like, if you're just going to keep it like, I can't alter the past, past is the past. All I can do is send things to the future. That's the only ability I have. And in that situation, hey, that might have worked. Odin's wife, you know, oh my god, the castle is burning, all hope is lost, what am I going to do? We can't do anything. We can't do anything. Kurozumi Orochi is taking over the country. He's gonna kill us all if we stay here. The only thing we can do is gather up our greatest warriors, plus Momonosuke, because Momonosuke is the heir to the throne. And, oh, by the way, this also explains how Momonosuke knew Roger, just on Zoe. We should probably go back, and I need to make a video about this. I'm just gonna go and make a video about all the references from Zoe to here, because I have to now. But anyway, he's like, yeah, Momonosuke, Kinemon, Kanjuro, Raizo, Kiku, all of you, I'm going to use my power, I'm going to send you 20 years into the future. Like, 20 years, that's a long time. It's like, yes, it's a long time. And Kurozumi Orochi is going to take over the country. But by then, I feel, maybe she could feel it or something. She's like, I can tell by using my power to see the future that in 20 years you will encounter some people that will be able to change the course of history of this country. Maybe she could see the future as well, and she could look into her clairvoyance, kind of like Charlie, and she'd be like, I see a boy with a straw hat that will lead this country to salvation. Like, that's 20 years from now, that's all I can do to you. All right, good luck to all of you. And she sends them all into the future, and then she dies, and Odin dies, and then here we are now. It's like 20 years of Kurozumi's ironclad rule. Now, this does introduce a few, like, interesting problems. Like, I'm assuming what happened is they got sent into the future. They arrived in the Wano country 20 years later in the present day. They were immediately hunted by Jack and Kaido and Orochi's men, and they had to flee the country. So that's why Kinemon took Momonosuke, and Raizo went to Zou, and Kanjuro got captured eventually at Dressrosa, and then Kinemon and Momonosuke got captured at Punk Hazard. So they probably had to leave Wano to find these people. Because they, imagine, like, they get sent through time, and they just, like in the first episode of Samurai Jack, Jax lands in the future, it's all crazy, it's all different, but then all of a sudden people are attacking him and shit, and it's like, oh crap, I gotta get out of here. So all the samurai are like, we need to leave the country and then come back to it. And so they set sail on to a world that they do nothing about, really. Even before the 20-year thing happened, they didn't know really anything about the world, honestly. And they were traveling the seas, and then that's how they ended up getting captured, but they eventually ended up meeting the Straw Hats, and that is their savior, I guess. So, that's the best I got, really. Time fruit is probably the most likely way. Other than that, you're going to go through some kind of magic or some kind of ancient weapon or something. I don't know. But I doubt that they have the TARDIS hidden in the basement of this place, you know, so I'm going to go with the time fruit. This was a really intense chapter. We learned a lot of stuff here. I cannot wait till next week. It's probably going to be just a whole exposition kind of chapter, learning about Odin's wife, and we might even get to see them, like Odin and Odin's wife, see what they looked like and what their abilities were and all that shit. But thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Law Tekking signing out.